Hi, everybody. You've probably have heard a lot about ChatGPT or been seeing that name come up a lot. At least I have pretty much any education forum that I am a part of. I've been hearing it everywhere. I've been seeing it in newsletters and conferences. At the last Spring Q, it was a huge topic, and all of the sessions were super popular. And so I just wanted to kind of touch base on what ChatGPT is and how we can be using it to help us in the classroom or different ways. Now, this is fairly new. So what I say now might be totally different in a couple months, but at least to kind of start thinking about how we can use ChatGPT, because AI technology is not going anywhere. It's already been used, and when you like, as annoying as when you go to companies and like their chat, like online chat feature, most likely you're talking to an AI. Like 99% of the time, you're going to be talking to AI. So we've already been using AI. It's just now exploding everywhere, and it's definitely not going away. So you can see some examples of ChatGPT of how it's been used. So like creative ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday party, making a script request. So one way that you can use it in lots of different ways. And one way that this is a conversation. So let's see if I am, and one way that I like using ChatGPT is that it kind of takes that mental load when it's 3 o'clock and you're exhausted and you just need an idea for tomorrow's lesson and you're just brain dead. This kind of gets those ideas flowing for me. So let's say I want a student center activity on characterization. And now it's giving me this idea. And so I have now an idea of an activity that I can do with students tomorrow based on this. And now I can modify this. So I can say modify for high school. Let's see how the modification works. So it's modifying it based on a high school level. It's just telling us to choose more complex work, having the higher level thinking skills. The questions that get a little bit higher level when I asked it to modify for high school, but now I can modify it. And I can ask it modify for first grade. So I can have, with this, it is a conversation that you can have. You can ask it to modify, you can ask it to replace words, and it will do it. So one way that I've been doing this is to get ideas for lessons. So you can look at a couple of different examples. As I was writing the PBIS lessons for the school-wide lessons, I was having issue thinking about like, how am I going to talk about using appropriate language in school-wide lessons? So I just said, write an article about using appropriate language. And it gave me an article about it. I then changed the audience to teenagers. So it then changed the audience for me. I have lots of different examples for this. So writing a speech about using appropriate language, some classroom activities about it, I asked it to do. I wanted to have a lesson. One of the ideas for a PBIS lesson was having an idea of like staying motivated and healthy sleep habits. And I was trying to mesh them together. So I said, like, write a speech about it to see if I could get ideas of how I could use it. I did use these. So I said, like, why should high schoolers dress appropriately for school? It then gave me reasons why. I personally didn't like the way that it asked about safety, that I didn't like this phrase here, that clothing is too revealing or provocative. So I said rewrite the paragraph without about safety without using that. And it did. It rewrote the paragraph so that I didn't have, that we weren't really focusing on that. And I feel like that oftentimes targets girls. So I totally did not want to focus on that when I was writing these. And I kept asking it to modify why we should follow the dress code. And I actually used these when I was writing the lessons for PBIS. And it, again, when I talk about the mental load that it takes off, Like we're educators, we have a billion things that we need to do. And sometimes it's hard just to get the ball rolling or get ideas flowing of how to create something. So ChatGPT, for me at least, helps take that mental load off. So at least I can get the ball rolling with it. Now, I will say that it does create something new. So it's pulling stuff from the internet and then meshing it together to create something new. So we as humans need to use our critical thinking lens and to make sure that everything we're doing is it's appropriate for our audience, it's appropriate for the tasks that we're using, and that it's accurate, that we're really looking through. Because I have had some things where I'm like, that's not really accurate information, so I really need to modify it with it. So this, like for what I was writing those school-wide lesson plans, came in really essential of really just helping me to like tackle these topics like dress code and appropriate language that I kind of was like, I don't know how else to do lessons on these. It really helped kind of get the ball rolling and ideas flowing for me with it. Um, Speaking of getting ideas rolling, you can also ask this for ideas. So, for example, like let's say I want an activity, like I'm stumped. I want my kids to have a student like driven activity, but I can't figure it out. So I can put this student centered activity out characterization. And here it goes. You can choose a book, have them analyze, be able to work about this, be able to discuss. Now, again, this may not be the best, but it's to get the ideas rolling, is how I like to look at it. I did this with like character, student center activity on characterization. I had the same prompt for this example as well. It shows that I said modify for high school. They gave me higher level thinking questions when I had it there. Then I asked it to modify for first grade, and then it's re-simplified it again. So you can ask it again. Chat GPT is supposed to be in dialogue, so you can ask it to modify. You can even one of the like most like, oh my gosh, it does this. I can do lesson plan about characterization that uses the 5 E's and is student driven or student centered. The 5 E's, looking at your engagement. This one gives me the grade levels here. It gives me my objectives. It gives me my materials, the procedures. So the 5 E's, we have like the engage, explore, those type of things. And it's giving me a full lesson plan. Now, again, I would modify it like their engagement one, like what makes you think a character is interesting or memorable? Like, I don't know how engaging that was. I would have to like spice it up a little bit more for students or put it in something. But again, it gives the ideas rolling. So when you're stuck in those days that like, especially testing days that you are stuck and you can't think of what to do, here's what you can do. Here's something that you can do. I might ask us to modify for 11th grade. And now this is also giving me 4 to 5 class periods, which may not be it. But again, getting those ideas rolling when we're stuck, when we really can't think of any more activities that we can do, those are really what this is useful for. So for me, I found that this is super helpful when I've got that writer's block. I just don't know what to do, or those teacher's block, I guess you could call it, when I just don't know what to do. And it really helps me to kind of like, okay, you've done the kind of like the brainstorming. Let me take that a step further. Let me actually modify it for how I'm going to use it. So just even just to use as the initial thinking block, or like the initial let's get started, is super helpful. One of the best ways that I've used ChatGPT though was actually to write an article so that I could have students practice annotating or reading using an article that was focusing on something that I wanted to focus on. So I really love photo essays, and to do photo essays where students take photos and create a story with the photos. But I wanted to give a little bit more prep work of like how we can use photography as a storytelling tool. So I had found a YouTube video that talked about it, but I wanted them to do a reading about it. And I just wasn't finding what I was looking for. I wanted something that was kind of straight to the point to use in class. And so I said, write an essay about photography as a storytelling tool. And it gave me this. I thought it was pretty good without the modifications. However, when I copied and pasted, it looked like too bland. And so it didn't look like an article. So then I went to Canva and I put that article into a template. You guys can see all of my Canva stuff. So I just put search newsletter templates to find this. And I just redid it to create a an official looking article, even though it's not like an official article, that my students could then read and to do in Canva. And I had some extra space here, so I put to use a 1-sentence summary with it. Then I went to Cami and we read and annotated the article as a class using Cami. And so let me find it. It's not in my most recent anymore, but then I just went to Canva, and I can show you in Google Classroom what that looked like. And so it was really awesome, because to do what I needed to do would have probably taken me another hour or two to find an article that was close enough. But like I said, I didn't have that extra 2 hours to really be looking through sources. And I just like the whole purpose of this was just to give them some more practice reading and practice annotating reading so that I could do it. And so that I could like do it in class and we had that extra practice, not necessarily that we were looking for a particular source or anything. So that article, you can see, I put it in Cami here. And then as a class, we annotated it. So we went through as a class. For this, I was doing a little bit of think alouds as I was annotating. So you can see that I went through this and annotated it with the students, talking about the body paragraphs, the conclusions, and doing all of the activities. To take that a step further to talk about using all of our tools, I then went into formative and created questions about the article in formative. And what we were able to annotate. So I asked them what the thesis statement was. I asked them the purpose of the second paragraph, about the word definitions. And so through ChatGPT allowing me to create this article within seconds, I was then had like a full lesson that I could build upon with it. And so using Canva to make it look a little bit like more official, a little bit more engaging, then using Cami to annotate it, and formative to analyze it. So this again would have taken me a while to find the exact article, but for the purpose of what I needed it for, I could just do it in seconds, which was pretty awesome. I've been playing around with like writing articles and essays, so having them write about Salinas, California, just to kind of see what it is. We're working on titles, so having simplifying it, making things more catchy. This isn't the best example because it did not do what I needed it to do, but at least got me thinking, got the ball rolling about it. So ChatGPT can be used like as a way to kind of get things that we need to done quickly. Like I said, one of my biggest aha was having it write the article about what I needed to have it written for, and then being able to use that as like in the class as a tool. I've seen other teachers that have used this that have taken students' writings. Again, this is blocked for students, so they will not be able to do this on their own in class, but taking students' paragraphs and saying, reword this to make it better, or make this paragraph better. And then the students talk about why or if the ChatGPT version was better, and justifying why it was or was not a better version of that paragraph. So taking students' work and doing it. Again, with being able to modify this, you can talk about like put in articles and have it replace it with the students' interest. So they can talk about like create an article about basketball, or replace this word with this word, or there's lots of ways we can modify it for students. But this is, again, I know some of you guys are using this already, so if you have any ideas of how we can use ChatGPT, but these are just some really awesome ways that have been really, really useful for me. At least, again, the best thing is when it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm dead and I just want to get ideas rolling. This is a super easy way to get the ideas flowing. So if you have any other ideas of how you're using ChatGPT, make sure you put it in the comments.